Hi, I'm Rob, and I am a boutique drum builder, and my drum brand is called Sidewinder Drums. This video is the drum build story behind this Dragon Lacewood drum shown right now. This story begins with this piece of wood. I ended up with it several years ago when I purchased a bunch of exotic woods in a government auction. I knew it was special, and I was waiting for a project that would do it justice. For this photo, I splashed some water on it just to show what the grain would look like when finished. The board is approximately 5 inches wide and 94 inches long. The drums I make are stave drums. Staves are strips of wood, cut at an angle, so they'll shape a drum, or a barrel, when glued and then rolled up. The original board was 5 inches wide, and these staves are about 2 1/4 inches wide, so I can get 2 staves out of the width of the board. The staves are 8.5 inches long, so I'll be able to get 11 strips of that length. So I should end up with 22 staves, and I only need 20, so I should have 2 extra in the end. This is a simple square. I use it all the time. Can you find the 8.5 inches mark on this? If you pick this spot, you're wrong, because this is the spot you should actually use. So in the end, I actually measured 9.5 inches for each stave. And because I cut my staves 9.5 inches instead of 8.5 inches, I ended up with 18 staves, and I needed 20 to make a whole drum. At this point, I put the brakes on this drum build. I knew I was not beaten, but I was not sure how to proceed forward yet. First, I considered just finding some more lacewood. But that's not easy, and the odds are the new wood, since it's from a different tree, would not be a good match to the existing wood. Option 2. Find a different species of wood that would complement the lacewood. Leopard wood has a similar grain design to lacewood, but is darker. So I decided to head up to Woodworker's Source in Tempe and pick up some leopard wood. Instead of just throwing in staves that are a different color, I decided to do a design that will spice things up a little bit. Here's a quick shot of that design on the finished drum. Here I've laid out all the staves, trying to put it in order so it looks good, getting the grain patterns to match up nicely. Here I have taped everything up. I'll flip it over in a second and then put glue in between all the joints. And then I'll use pipe straps to tighten it up nice and tight, and it will sit this way overnight before I undo it and get it ready to go on the CNC machine. This is the first pass where I will skim off the top layers of wood to get it a nice perfectly round shape. And I'll do one more later. I take just a little bit off, which gives a nice finish and requires much less sanding later. This, of course, is sped way up. Each pass takes about half an hour. And here the drum is after the skimming. It is now ready for the 3D carving, which will start in just a second. Do a full rotation so you can see what the drum looks like. This is where the magic happens. Before this step, the process I use is very standard, and other stave drum builders do this in a very similar way. The 3D carvings and the way they do them are very unique. For this drum, I'm doing a 3D dragon design. This 3D carve does almost half the drum, and it will do a very similar carve on the other side of the drum. Each carve takes about 4.5 hours, so it'll be a total of 9 hours for all the 3D work. Now the CNC is cutting the top and bottom edge of the drum. It can't cut all the way through, since it would fall off the jig if that happened. So it is just scoring deep enough so I can use the router table with a flush bit later to get a nice clean edge. Notice how the CNC is also cutting out the snare bed on the bottom side of the drum. Here I'm switching bits to a V-point roundover bit. With it, I will put a 1/4 inch radius on both the top and bottom edges of the drum. The radius will also follow the snare bed on the bottom of the drum. Here I am setting the height of the Z-axis. I will lower the bit till it touches the piece of paper and then set that as a 0 point, or the top of the drum. This needs to be done each time you change a bit. And here is a final shot of the drum before it comes off the CNC. I'll do one full rotation so you can see the whole drum. I mentioned this step earlier when I scored the edge of the drum on the CNC and would clean up the edge on the router table. I'm using a flush bit to remove the excess wood on both the top and the bottom. There's a bearing on the bottom of this router bit that is following that scored edge originally made by the CNC. Here are a few still photos showing the setup I used to skim the inside of the drum. The drum rides on rollers and is held in place by a belt that also turns the drum. And this shot shows how the gantry goes inside the drum. This shot shows the path the belt takes. At the bottom you can see the pulley that turns the belt. It loops around the drum, and then other pulleys are used to keep the belt tension tight. Here you can see the router skimming the inside of the drum. It will take several passes to get right. Since the belt is the only thing holding the drum in place, I can't be aggressive taking a lot of wood off each pass. One of my favorite steps is the first coat of finish. Seeing the true beauty of that wood pop for the first time is really satisfying. I put down many layers of finish on this drum and sanded between each layer to get the final finish I really wanted. Here is one final rotation of the completed shell. I think the Lacewood was a great choice for this artwork. Many people would use the word scales to describe the grain pattern on Lacewood, and scales on a dragon just feels right. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.